For government payments are hitting Canadian bank accounts this month. And depending on what you know and what you don't, this could either be the best deposit month you've had all year, or a month where your money comes in smaller than you expected, and you have no idea why. Some of you are about to see a genuine increase for the first time in a while. Some of you are about to see your payment shrink, and it won't be a mistake. It'll be something you could have prepared for if you knew it was coming. And one of these for payments barely exists yet in most people's minds, because it's brand new. It has a new name, and most retirees watching this right now have never once heard it mentioned. Before we dive in, if this channel has ever helped you understand your benefits a little better, do us a favor and hit subscribe. We're a small team. We're not backed by any bank or investment firm trying to sell you something. And the only reason we keep putting these videos together every week is because retirees like you tell us it actually helps. So welcome back. Today we're covering for payments, when they land, how much you should expect, and more importantly, why the amount in your account this month might be different from the amount your neighbor gets, even if you're the exact same age, collecting the exact same benefits, on the exact same day. Let's start at the beginning, because I think it helps to understand the full picture before we get into any single payment. Retirement income in Canada rarely comes from one source. Most seniors are stitching together 2, 3, sometimes for different government payments every single month. And each of those payments runs on its own rules, its own formulas, and in some cases, its own separate government department. Old age security and the guaranteed income supplement are handled through Service Canada. The Canada Pension Plan is technically a separate program with its own funding structure, even though it's paid out on the same calendar. And the Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit is administered entirely through the Canada Revenue Agency, run off your tax return, with no application process at all for most people. For different payments, 3 different underlying logics, and yet all of them ultimately depend on one thing that trips up more retirees than anything else. And we'll come back to that a few times today because it's genuinely the single most important thing you can do to protect every dollar you're entitled to. Let's talk numbers, because that's why you're here. The first payment, and the one almost everyone already knows, is old age security. Your OAS payment this month lands on July 29, 2026. Write that down, circle it, put it in your calendar, because this isn't an ordinary monthly deposit. This is the quarterly review date, the day the government looks at inflation data and decides whether your payment needs to go up to keep pace with the cost of living. This quarter, it did go up, and it went up by more than the last couple of adjustments combined. OAS increased by 2% for the July through September quarter, which works out to a 3% increase compared to what you were receiving this time last year. For context, the increase back in January was only 0.3%, and April's adjustment was a modest 0.1%, so this is genuinely the biggest bump seniors have seen all year. What does that mean in real dollars? If you're between 65 and 74 years old and receiving the maximum OAS pension, your monthly payment rises to approximately $751.97, up from $743.05 in the previous quarter. If you're 75 or older, and you're already benefiting from that permanent 10% boost the government introduced back in 2022, your maximum monthly payment climbs to roughly $827.17, up from $817.36. Now, I want to be upfront with you. Very few seniors actually receive the true maximum, because the maximum requires 40 full years of Canadian residency after the age of 18. If you have fewer years of residency, you receive a prorated amount, but the good news is the 2% increase still applies proportionally to whatever your personal amount is. So everyone who receives OAS sees some kind of bump this month, even if the dollar figure looks different from the headline number. Here's something that catches a lot of longtime retirees off guard, and I want to spend a minute on it because it explains so much of the confusion people have every single July. Your OAS payment date never moves because of your income. It's locked to the calendar, the same day every month, adjusted only for weekends and holidays. But your amount is a completely different story. Amount and date are not the same conversation, and mixing them up is where most of the confusion around these benefits comes from. So if your OAS payment feels different this month than it did in June, and you're wondering whether Service Canada made some kind of error, The answer almost never involves an error. It almost always comes down to one of two things: the quarterly cost of living adjustment we just talked about, or something connected to your income from the year before, which is where our second payment comes in, and it's the one that causes the most confusion of any benefit we cover on this channel. The Guaranteed Income Supplement, or GIS, is paid out on the exact same date as OAS, so mark July 29th again for this one. GIS exists to support lower-income seniors, and if you're one of the people who receives it, I want you to appreciate something about it that makes it genuinely different from OAS and CPP. GIS is completely tax-free. Every dollar of it stays in your pocket. You don't report it as taxable income, you don't owe anything on it at tax time, and it doesn't show up as income that could push you into a higher bracket. That's a meaningful difference from OAS and CPP, both of which are fully taxable. And it's one reason GIS is such an important piece of the puzzle for lower-income retirees. But GIS comes with a mechanism that catches thousands of seniors off guard every single year, and it's worth understanding in detail so it never catches you. GIS is recalculated once a year, every July, using the income information from your tax return for the previous calendar year. That means the GIS payment you're about to receive, starting July 29th and continuing all the way through June of 2027, is based entirely on your 2025 income, not your income today, not your income last month. Your 2025 tax return, filed earlier this year, is what determines every GIS deposit you'll see for the next 12 months. Think about what that actually means for a moment. If your income dropped in 2025, maybe because you retired partway through the year, maybe you pulled less out of your RRIF than you normally do, maybe a part-time job ended, then your GIS could rise by significantly more than that 1-2% cost of living adjustment we just talked about for OAS. Some seniors see their GIS jump quite a bit in a year like that. But if your income went up in 2025 for any reason, even a temporary reason like a one-time RRSP withdrawal, a small inheritance that counted as income, or extra investment gains, your GIS can shrink, even while your OAS is going up at the exact same time. This is the single biggest reason seniors call Service Canada every July confused about why their combined deposit barely moved, or in some cases actually went down slightly, when they were expecting an increase across the board. It's not a mistake, it's the recalculation doing exactly what it's designed to do. GIS is reduced by roughly 50 cents for every dollar of net income you have outside of OAS itself, which is why even modest changes in income can meaningfully shift your payment. Now here's the part of this conversation that I think matters more than any dollar figure we've talked about so far, because it's completely within your control, and it's genuinely avoidable. If you did not file your 2025 income tax return by the April 30th, 2026 deadline, your GIS payments could be paused starting this month. I want to be precise with that word, because it's not reduced, it's paused. Service Canada cannot calculate an income-tested benefit without income information, so if they don't have your 2025 return on file, they simply stop the GIS portion of your payment until they receive it. If that's you, and you haven't filed yet, please, get that return in as soon as you possibly can. I know some of you think, I have no income to speak of, why would I need to file a tax return? But that's exactly backwards. If you have low or no income, filing is what proves it. Filing is the trigger that keeps GIS flowing. Skipping it doesn't protect you from anything. It just cuts off the very benefit designed to help you the most. And this isn't just a GIS issue. It connects to every income-tested benefit we're going to talk about today, including the new one. So keep that thread in mind as we go. Let's put some real numbers on this so it feels concrete rather than abstract. A single senior with little to no other income beyond OAS and GIS could see a combined deposit of approximately $1,875 this month, up from around $1,853 in June. That's a meaningful jump, and for someone living close to the edge financially, that kind of increase actually matters for grocery bills, for utility costs, for prescriptions. But I want to stress, again, that number depends entirely on your personal income situation from 2025. Your neighbor down the street, the same age as you, receiving the same OAS increase, could see a completely different total if their 2025 income looked different from yours. That's not unfair. It's the system working as designed. But it's confusing if nobody ever explains it to you, which is exactly why we're spending this much time on it. Let's move to the third payment. And this is the one almost every working Canadian spent decades contributing to without necessarily thinking hard about how it would eventually pay out. The Canada Pension Plan, or CPP, is paid on the same schedule as OAS and GIS. So once again, July 29th is your date. CPP works differently from OAS in one fundamental way. It's not funded by general tax revenue. It's funded by contributions you and your employer made throughout your working life, which means your personal CPP amount depends entirely on how much you earned, how consistently you contributed, and crucially, the age at which you decided to start collecting. For 2026, the maximum monthly CPP retirement pension available to someone starting at age 65 is $1,507.65. I want to be honest with you, the way we always try to be on this channel, almost nobody actually receives that maximum. To hit the true ceiling, you generally need close to 39 years of near maximum contributions, which is a very specific and fairly rare career pattern. The more typical experience is closer to the average new beneficiary amount, which currently sits around $925.35 a month. If your personal CPP deposit looks a lot smaller than the headline maximum you've seen quoted online, that's normal, and it doesn't mean anything is wrong with your account. It simply reflects your actual contribution history. If this video helped clear up even one thing you were confused about, whether that was the GIS recalculation, the new CGEB, or the CPP deferral math, it would genuinely mean a lot if you hit that like button before you go. It's a small action, but it tells the platform this content is worth showing to other seniors who need the same clarity. And if you've got a question specific to your own situation, something about your income, your filing status, your particular benefit mix, drop it in the comments below. I read every single comment personally, and while I obviously can't give you individualized financial advice through a YouTube comment, I try to point people in the right direction as often as I possibly can. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider it, because these payment dates, these rate changes, these new benefits, they don't stop coming. And we put out a new update like this every single week specifically so you're never caught off guard by your own money again. Next week, we're going deep on a topic a lot of you have asked about repeatedly in the comments, exactly how the OAS clawback, officially called the OAS recovery tax, actually works. We'll walk through the real thresholds step by step, using real numbers, so you know precisely where that line sits for your income level, how the 15-cent per dollar reduction actually gets applied, and what legitimate strategies exist to plan around it before it takes a bite out of your pension. It's one of the most misunderstood parts of the entire retirement income system, and we're going to make it make sense. Until then, take care of your finances, take care of that tax filing deadline every single year without fail, and above all, take care of yourself out there. We'll see you in the next one.